And joining us now is House Intelligence Committee Chairman, Republican Mike Turner of Ohio. Mr. Chairman, thank you for being with us. Let me ask you, Chris Wray testified that this is the highest level alert that he has seen since the war against ISIS. What are your concerns, according to what you're seeing?
Well, it's absolutely true, Andrea. The director has, I think, rightly cited the public alarm of that we are facing the possibility of terrorist attacks now that are highest in a decade, as you indicated. And he cited both the southern border, individuals who have crossed the border who have alliance or affiliation with terrorist groups and organizations. He spoke of the conflict in Israel and of Hezbollah, Hamas, and ISIS calling for attacks in the West, including in the United States. He's also been very concerned about the issue of lone wolves, people who might respond to these types of calls, who intend to do other people harm. And there was,
a barrage of missiles and drones just this weekend that we saw in the Red Sea. The Pentagon has been saying that they were not targeting the U.S. ships, but they were targeting commercial ships. Is that clear?
Absolutely. Well, the attacks that came from Yemen and the Houthis toward the commercial ships, none of those ships were flagged as U.S. ships. But certainly, when you attack commerce in the Red Sea, you're attacking the West. You're attacking symbolism of the United States. And of course, we had a destroyer in the area that came to the defense of those ships, including taking down drones. And it's unclear as to whether or not those drones were directed at U.S. military ships, and they certainly could have been.
And that was the USS Carney. I want to ask you about FISA, and this is a little bit arcane, but in the intelligence community, the FISA law is considered absolutely necessary to protect the homeland from foreign attacks, and it permits the United States to collect metadata on emails and cell phones, not the conversations themselves, unless there's they go to a FISA judge and then ask for permission to that. That is the way it's supposed to work, at any rate. It has to be reauthorized, and it's very controversial now. There's a lot of opposition, not only among civil libertarians, but also among libertarians on the right, who say that there's an invasion here and there were abuses, known abuses, that went to trial by the FBI under the Mueller probe.
Andrew, you're absolutely right. So the FISA program 702 is going to expire at the end of December, and it needs to be reauthorized. It's one of our most important tools for gathering intelligence.
So you agree that it's important?
It has to be renewed. It is only targeting foreign individuals located outside the United States, not U.S. citizens, not anyone, even U.S. persons, even who are located within the United States. As a result of the abuses that have occurred at the FBI, though, it must be reformed. And Congress has been debating various packages of reforms and how can we accomplish making certain that this program goes forward, but at the same time that is reformed. I think we're close. Senator Warner, myself, and Jim Himes worked together on a package that I think is a very good one. The debate is going to continue in Congress. What we want to make certain is we don't adopt reforms that cripple the program and then hurt America right when we have, as you said, the highest terrorist threat we've seen.
And that's a bipartisan. Obviously, you mentioned Senator Warner and Congressman Hines, so that is bipartisan. I do want to ask you also about impeachment, because you've got Ukraine, you've got Israel. The border is a dispute that is holding up Ukraine and Israel money. So there's a lot to be done. Only 3 weeks till Christmas.
It sure is.
And time is running out on that supplemental and a lot of other things. Is this the right time to be opening an impeachment inquiry into the president? One thing to be investigating Hunter, his son, who's under indictment. The president?
Well, there has already been ongoing an impeachment inquiry, and the Speaker has determined that really the White House is not cooperating with that inquiry at its level of where it's been established at his direction, at Speaker McCarthy's direction. So the next step is for Congress itself to vote to open the inquiry, which gives them a higher level of ability to compel responses and compel that information be provided to them. So this is a Speaker's call, really with respect to what are the tools necessary for the inquiry to go forward.
The pushback is that there's no evidence that the president gained financially from anything his family did, and that this is just election year politics.
Well, with all investigations, you start with information that has the appearance that there's troubling things that have occurred here. And we certainly have passed that threshold. Then there are questions that really the president and the president's family need to answer. And in order to accomplish the president answering those, the impeachment inquiry has to go forward.
let me also ask you about Ukraine, obviously, because the head of the OMB sent a letter to Congress saying that money has run out. There is no more money for Ukraine. And that's a hot war.
Absolutely.
Which is stalemated. And the best thing for Vladimir Putin would be for Ukraine to run dry and not have ammo.
Absolutely. And it's very important that the White House has made this statement. What would be also important is if the White House actually came to the table and began negotiations on the package. The package, as you know, includes funding for Israel, funding for Asia, the Taiwan concerns and issues, funding for Ukraine itself, and then also funding for the border. But what Congress has said is that we need more than just funding. The issues at the border are not just an issue of, how do we pay additional costs for refugees and those who are entering the countries, but we need actually policy changes, and the administration knows what those are. They've been adopted in previous administrations and have shown to work, and the administration needs to come to the table. The sooner that the administration begins to negotiate on actual policies that will change the border, as you know, you have bipartisan support for changes at the border. Governor Pulisic, Colorado, the mayor of New York have all called for these types of changes.
And it was in the president's supplemental, but not asylum changes, not things
Correct.
that they disagree with.
Not policy changes that the American public want and that there's a bipartisan coalition that's calling for.
And what if the money just runs out on Ukraine over this issue? Or is Congress going to stay in through Christmas?
Well, I certainly hope that the president doesn't do that. I mean, I hope the president will agree to meaningful changes with respect to the border that can allow this funding to go forward, because there's strong bipartisan support for the funding for Ukraine and Israel and the Asia funding. And there's strong bipartisan support for these changes. Really, at this point, the president's the impediment.
Just one quick question. Do you have any concerns that Israel's offensive in the south now may lead to so many casualties that you're going to lose support for Israeli funding on the Hill, given that people have been displaced and they're being told to go to safe zones, but they have no way to even know where those safe zones are, given the lack of communications?
I think the administration has been very clear at holding Israel accountable for Palestinian casualties as they pursue Hamas, which is a real threat both to Israel and the United States. And I do think that you will see steps that Israel's taking that are meaningful. If those steps are not meaningful, if they don't take them, certainly I think the administration will be very, very clear in that it does affect overall support for Israel. But let's assume that those changes occur and that we're able to deliver. Israel needs this support. We need them to be able to be successful to eliminate Hamas, which is, conducted the unbelievable atrocities on October 7th and remains a threat both to Israel and the United States.